Hey everybody, I'm Blank Forms. Check me out on Instagram or wherever you stream music. Today I'm going to talk about the Lyra-8 and specifically using it as an effects unit. You can pass an external input into it right here and then back out here. It's all mono. It has two delay lines passing into a distortion line, and the signal path is basically exactly that. The two delay lines seem to run in parallel. It's not one into the other, but they run in parallel, and then some. As you go into the longer times, it's going to get super gritty and downsampled in a way that I just love, especially when you start distorting and saturating it on that end. And then you pass it into the distortion. You have drive, which is sort of the intensity of the distortion, and then mix, where you're mixing between the wet and dry signals. Mix of the delay also, and then of course you have feedback on the delays. Let's jump into the examples. I'm going to start with just a simple sequence playing on the Volca keys. Okay, nice and basic. Right now I have the delays at their shortest possible time, and I'm going to go 100% on the mix. So right off the bat you can hear a tonal difference. You can also hear a little bit of phasing stuff happening because these two are not exactly aligned, which can be kind of nice because when you turn the feedback up you start to get resonate-y sorts of tones, which can be super fun to play with. And right off the bat, I'll get a little distortion happening. Let's see now, just to put a little in the mix, but turn the drive fairly high. Get that going again. Okay, but going back to a fairly raw delay signal, again 100% delay. Now I'm going to go to the other side so we can hear some of the noise and grit that happens when you go all the way to the long side of things. So we're hearing 100% of the wet signal, so that means time-wise we're going to be quite displaced from the original dry signal at this point. I love to work this way a lot. For some people this can be kind of annoying, but so that's where the original is, and you're going to hear time-wise we're in an entirely different place now. But like I said, I love this tone, so I work this way all the time. Okay, we'll get a little feedback going. Maybe I won't go all the way, but close. And so it can be fun to have these running on different time scales. Yeah, that's beautiful. Tone can get so nice and dreamy going from just raw, rather harsh synth tone to full delay. Now let's get a little distortion happening. I'm just going to saturate a bit by turning that up low and bringing up a bit of it. You're going to hear that high frequency noise start to come out even more. Now we get some beating. Okay, so one of the coolest things about this is that it has like a modulation on the time that's called self here, and what it means is that it's an envelope follower, much like the dot chaser pedals, and you've probably seen me use a lot. So an envelope follower affects the time, modulates the time on the two delays, depending on how much you want of it, and you can get some really nice sort of like pitch modulation. I like it subtle, which subtle for this means turning it up fairly high. So there you can start to hear it in a little chaos. If we go all the way, we get some insanity. I'm not going to go quite that far yet. Feedback. just for reference, let's go back to the original. And now, what the lyre is doing for us. The feedback will self-oscillate, by the way. You probably heard that in the early example. Let's just let it kind of go crazy here for a moment. So a wide range of things you can do there. Another thing I like to do with the time, I don't know how well this will come through right now, but this is another thing you'll definitely be able to hear in my earlier Lyra video or in some of my Instagram posts, is just subtly moving one of these. And what often happens, put this one a little closer to it, is that you'll get a very cool chorusing effect between these two. If it's just, yeah, you can kind of hear it. To hear them beat against each other when this distortion is sort of forcing them through a very small signal path. This is one of the sort of like keys to the magic of the Lyra-8. Everything is being forced through a single signal path. And so everything, because it's sort of like battling for the same space, things very much tend to frequency modulate each other, or just sort of modulate each other in general. So you get all these complex interactions that a more spread out signal path wouldn't give you. Okay, so I'm just going to have a little fun with this. I'm going to put a little more pitch motion in the original tone. I'm going to make it fifth. Maybe low pass it a bit. Lovely. There's also an oscillation option here for delay speed that is an LFO. I don't use it as much. It's super unpredictable, which is very cool, but I just don't find myself using it a ton. That is based on these. So you can hear this LFO shape, which is a fairly complex LFO shape, changes these guys quite a lot. If I bring it down a bit, you can hear it a little more subtle. It can be a little tough to find like a middle point between insanity and subtlety with these, but anyway, I'm going to put that self-oscillation. If they find their way back. There we go. Okay. One other option, which I'm not going to do right now, but is very cool, is there's CVN option to affect both the times of both of those delays. So that can be a great way to get like a real nice subtle LFO, just moving them a bit in addition to the self-modulation, or any shape you want based on your modulation sources and your eurorack setup. Okay, one other thing with this is that you can also combine the oscillators in the Lyra-8 with whatever you're passing through. So I've got a couple things here. They're sort of crudely tuned to the loop. So next up, onto the dig attack. Okay, so here's the beat on the dig attack. Passing through, I have the mix down on both the delay and the distortion. I'm going to bring in that distortion times at their very lowest. So definitely a tonal difference. That's with some feedback, actually. I'll bring in more so we can hear the resonating. Little distortion, bring that out. So a ton of possibility there. Again, now I'm going to go into the noisier, longer times. And again, we're going to be super displaced from the raw signal at this point, so you wouldn't be able to track this to click necessarily, or at least you would have to reline it up in your DAW, which is actually what I do a lot. I love to use this thing as a way to create variations on a tone that I then use as effects in a track. So try to get these two longer times sort of lined up. Close-ish. A little distortion. Feedback. Too crazy. Okay, now back to the original tone for reference, and then what we're creating. Let's get some self-modulation going. Just a little more subtle. That's nice. With the LFO, it's crazy. Just super nice. Just a little distortion on that. I love what it does to the noise. Now I'm going to start messing with the time a little more. Of course, with this one as well, you can bring in the oscillators. Isn't that crazy? And this can be super great with in combination with all the ways here on the Digitact that you can affect the entire loop itself while it's passing through this. For example, pitch. So I just took the pitch down of all the samples simultaneously. Bring up that distortion. Yeah, that's nice. self-oscillation of the delays. It can be its own instrument. Alright, so the Lyra-8, just the effects portion, passing other things through. It's practically worth the price of the thing on its own. There's also a module that does exactly this called the Lyra-8 FX, which hopefully I'll put a video together soon on that. I just got one of those. It's great. It has kind of a different tone actually than this, but it has all the same functions. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like I said, check me out on Instagram, anywhere you listen to music, and please hit like and subscribe.